Like I mentioned before when we were writing in our planners, we've been going crazy with finding literally the perimeter and area. Today we're mostly going to be comparing. What are we mostly doing today? Comparing. Now we need to review as far as what constitutes similar figures. Something has to be true about the shapes, about the polygon. In this section, so I've got these two. First, what are these shapes? Good work. Pentagon. How many sides do they have? Okay, so they both have 5 sides. Nod your heads. Do they look similar? Okay, there's something that has to be true. Technically, 2 things that have to be true in order for them to be similar. Do you remember?
All angles.
Perfect. All angles what though? All angles have to be congruent. So this angle would have to be congruent to this angle. So forth. Something else has to happen. Do you remember the second one, Callie? Do you remember? Proportional. That's the trick. I love that you use that vocab word. Proportional. Now the sides are not congruent, and I hope that makes sense to you. This side not congruent to that side, right? One's bigger, one's smaller. So right here, if this was, let me change up the colors, proportional, it means if this is 2, and this is 4, and this is 3, what would this one be? Yeah, so there's a pattern to it. We can figure it out. Okay, wait to remember the first part. Okay, copy down, and then I'm going to make it way simpler. It's pretty great because it's in there. So let's keep that. What this is saying is if you have to find the ratio of the perimeters of a polygon, you can just compare the sides. So for perimeters, and you're getting the ratio of it, you just look at the sides. And it's saying A to B. Well, let's put real numbers in here. All right, I moved that too high. I can't reach it. We'll put it right here. Let's say this was, I don't know, 4, and this is 6. You don't have to literally find the perimeters because the ratio will always be the simplified version of the sides. So A to B, it would just be the ratio of the perimeters is 4 to 6. Technically, you shouldn't leave like that. Anybody? What do you think we should do? Yeah, 2/3. Always simplify. So the ratio of the perimeters would be 2/3. Would it be okay to write it like this? Yeah. Either one's a ratio. Ratio is comparing 2 numbers. Okay, so that's perimeters. Perimeters, you just use the sides. Because what do you use? What do you use? Okay, you just use the sides. Now area, you have to take that and do something to it. That's it. So area, you take the ratio of the sides, which was A to B, but you can't forget to square it. So in our pretend example, it would just be 2 squared over 3 squared, which is what? That's it. That's the ratio of the areas. 4 over 9, or if you like, you can put it that way. Either one totally works. Thumbs up, you okay with that? Just remember perimeters, compare the sides, area, don't forget to square it. Okay. I think if I want to add to that. We'll get to real life in a second. Real life examples. All right, here we go. What I always struggle with is I rush through things. So make sure you highlight, underline, make sure you know what you're doing first. This is what I always rush through. We're comparing what to what? Okay, so unshaded is the little guy, right? Yeah, because it's not shaded. I have to think through that word for some weird reason. So here we go. For letter A, find the ratio of the perimeters. So the little one, what's the side on the little one? Yeah, 7 to what? Perfect. So the perimeters would be 7 to 21. But don't leave it like that, especially if you have to find area. Area's a lot easier if you simplify it. So what's 7 to 21 simplified? What is it? There you go, 1 to 3. Or of course, if you'd rather write it like this, either one is fine. Okay, so there's letter A. We're done. We found the perimeter. Now let's take that and find the area. So let's do 1 squared over 3 squared. Guys, what's the final answer? Not too bad. 1 over 9, or if you prefer, I don't mind if you do a ratio. Okay, will you put your head down real quick? Cover your eyeballs. How many are feeling like, are you kidding? That's it? You get this? You doing okay? Right hands down. How many go, I think I get it, or would it be in like the maybe category? I think I get it. hands down. How many of you, I do not get it, I'm confused. Okay, heads up, thank you very much. It's good info. Okay, well you try these ones on your own. However, let's highlight the directions. Make sure you do unshaded to shaded. On the first one, let's do perimeters. Will you give me the non-simplified answer first? What is it? Wait, I heard both. I heard 22 over 11, but I also heard 11 over 22. Are you sure? It matters, it matters, it matters. Okay, once you simplify that, what is it? Okay, it's nice to simplify it, especially if you have to find area next. Area, you've got to square the 2 and the 1. So what's the areas ratio? Curious. How many of you got that? No big deal? Okay, sweet. This one, number 2, give me the unsimplified version of the perimeter ratio.
8 to 10.
Perfect. 8 to 10. What's the simplified version?
4 to 5.
Perfect. So the ratio is 4 to 5. So nice and loud, guys. What's the ratio of the areas?
16 to 25.
Yes, 16 over 25. Okay. Okay, what I want you to do first is read the actual question. Brilliant, right? Okay, read the question and then we'll work on it together. Okay, you ready? So this problem is saying we're going to recarpet this room. I wish, that'd be fantastic. So we're recarpeting the room. We don't know how much it's going to cost, but maybe we recarpet the tiny room between Briner and Anderson's. It's teeny tiny. We know that one was $216. So they're saying compare that teeny one to this big one. We've got to estimate the cost. Make sense? Okay, what you want to do first is compare the measurements. So from this 40 feet to this 10 feet, what's the ratio? 4 to 1, or if you did it the opposite, it'd be 1 to 4. Do you agree? So we could do 10 feet over 40 feet would just be, whoa, 1/4. You okay with that logic? Okay, we'll compare the other ones to make sure it really does work. So 48 feet compared to 12 feet, is that still 1 to 4, 4 to 1? Simplify it. Use your ABC button if you want. Do 12 divided by 48, is that still 1/4? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. So let's use the ratio 1/4. But that ratio 1/4, is that for the perimeter or the area? The sides, so it's the perimeter. So what you just found was the ratio of the perimeters. Perimeters is 1/4. Did I lose anybody? You okay with that? Alright, if we found the perimeter is 1 to 4. Oh, I erased everything. Alright, then the area is going to be what? What do we do to the sides? Yes, 1 over 16. Square this, square this. So the areas ratio is 1 over 16. So this is saying this 1 is your smaller room compared to 16 for the bigger room. So what do we have to do to both sides? Well, not to both sides, but to the area of the smaller one, you would have to times by 16 to get the area of the bigger one. So take that 16, which we found by finding the area. Do 16 times, where did this 216 come from? Kevin, you still with us? So price of 216, well, 216 was the price of the smaller times it. There's your final answer. It's a lot of money. Better be some good carpet. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I get that one. What's more problem? You okay with logic of that? Okay. Alright, got another one. Are you ready? Next one, same thing. Read the problem, get a base, and then we'll go through it together. What's a gazebo? You guys know what a gazebo is? Can you describe it? Can you describe it?
Is it like a canopy kind of thing where it's like, in this case, I guess, let's see, what shape is it? Hexagon.
Uh-huh.
So it'd be 6 posts with like a tarp.
Perfect. Perfect. Gazebo in a park. So Moot was saying that it's a hexagon and then it's got your post and then a cover. Whenever I hear the word gazebo, I think of wedding receptions. When people have them in a park, they still want cover, but they still want it to look fancy. So it's not like a pavilion where it's just a cover and there's picnic tables under there. It's like fancier so people can be outside but still have their wedding out there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, here we go. So the floor of each has a hexagon, like Moot pointed out. The floor of one has a perimeter of what? 72 feet. Guys, it's really helpful in word problems to highlight what you're probably going to need. It's math, so we're probably going to need the numbers in there, right? The floor of one gazebo has perimeter 72 feet with an area. I'm just going to underline that one. The floor of the other one has a perimeter of 96 feet. All right, let's compare perimeters. So right here it says perimeter of smaller gazebo 72. What's the perimeter of the larger gazebo? Okay, let's do it. 96 right here. Equal sign because we're going to simplify it. So 72 divided by 96. What is that simplified? Hey, oh man, that's so convenient. 3/4, so that's the ratio of the perimeters. Okay, so right down here it's saying we'll take that ratio. To find the area, what do we have to do to it? Perfect, so it's saying take 3, square it. Take 4, square it. Which is perfect, 9/16. Okay, and then it kind of jumps to an answer. I'm going to help you out. Are you ready? Let me move this for some room. So where do you go from here? Well, that didn't work. Now that we have 16, how is that helpful? Did you see it? Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to set up a proportion. But do you know what that means? Does anything flash in your head when I say proportion? Allie? Uh-huh. Perfect. A proportion is 9/16 equals something over something. When we put in those places, Tyler, what do you think?
On the top one, you put 374.12.
Totally right. Perfect. 374.12 over x. Where did Tyler get that 374.12? It's the area of the smaller one. Okay, well then, how come Tyler didn't put it in the denominator? How do you know to put it in the numerator? Perfect, Kaylin. It matches up with the original perimeter, where we put the original. Slash, is it okay to use the logic of this is a smaller number compared to a larger number? So area should be smaller to larger? Totally work. Do you remember how to solve these? They're like my 7th grader's favorite thing in the world. Cross multiply. Grab your calculators. 16 times 374.12. So you cross multiply, but do you remember what to do with the other guy? Yep. Divide by the leftover. They like to make the zigzag. Divide. 16 times 374.12. Divide by. Did you get about 665.10 cents? Yeah? Alright. Wait, was that money? No. I was like, how's that? 665 in square feet, huh? Curious, how many of you got that? Did you type it in and you got the same thing? How do you feel about that one? Did you follow it? Because the next problem is using some of this information, our very last problem. So we might have to come back. Hopefully I can just use your help. In example 3, assume the floor of the larger gazebo has a perimeter of 120 feet. Find its area. Wait. Yes, so I think we do the exact same steps. And like Ellie said, instead of 96, we put 120. Okay, well you make sure you do this right. Wasn't the area of the smaller one, the perimeter of the smaller one 72 feet? It was. So let's do 72 over 120. But we'll need to simplify that. Oh, so nice. Alright, so that's 3/5. Simplify. Take that and do what? Do you remember what to do next? Perfect. Square it. So to get the areas ratio, square the 3, square the 5. And what do we get? Okay. Wonderful. Now what? Now that we know that, where do we go from here? Go ahead.
So, you said 9 divided by 25 equal to 374.12.
Perfect. Take that same area. Was it 0.12, Tyler?
Yeah.
So now we have a different starting ratio. Grab your calculators. Type it in. So 25 times 74.12, and then divide by your leftover, divide by 9. Alright, raise your hand if you got the same thing. Yeah? Did that one make more sense with the follow-up, the second one, process by process? Okay, perfect.